I think from the brief that I normally get from somebody using me as a buyer's agent is to find a property that has a positive rental return. What do I mean by that? I mean that if you work out what the council is going to cost you, what the water rates are going to be in a unit or an apartment or a strata complex, how much strata fees are going to be, and then you work out how much you could rent, according to the reports, how much you could rent that property for, once you subtract all the costs, you should make a profit on what you're buying. So almost at least 80% of the clients that approach me want a positive rental return from any investment property as the number one thing that I look for. The reason they do that is really they want to permanently move their financial position to the positive. So 80% of my clients are coming in as investors rather than trying to buy their own house. So they're looking at that financial freedom, that ability to reduce the amount of dependence they have on their day job so that their income can come from another source, from a rental property. So yeah, absolutely, a positive rental income is important. I guess the other thing that I get asked, or the other thing that I look for in a property, is the ability to have access to properties before the rest of the market. Because I like competing, but I prefer to have that first stab where I get to see it before other people and I can make an offer, because quite often I have the funds or the pre-approval for my customers before I even walk in for the first inspection, which means that I can move fast. I've done one last year where we did a 14-day settlement. That means that when they sign on the dotted line, they agree to sell at our price. We offered to be able to pay them in full within 14 days. And that was enough time for our lawyer, our conveyancer, and their conveyancer to meet and exchange the titles. I believe that they actually said yes to us because we were able to finish in 14 days. And as it turned out, their bank and their solicitor took 7 weeks to get it done from their side. But I think they chose us because we were ready in 14 days. So just because it didn't happen that way, that offer made it a very strong offer. And having the access to the property before other people meant that that property just didn't go for auction. We made the offer before the auction date, the auction was cancelled, and we bought it. And I guess that's where I'm coming from. It's not just the access to the property, it's being able to negotiate before anybody else even knows negotiations have started.
That's very interesting, Amir, because that ability to negotiate before it's public puts you in a much better place in buying that property, because if you're there first, really willing and ready to go, and then that makes life easier for the person who's selling the property as well, doesn't it?
It does. And you also don't get caught in the trap of being emotional. Because let's face it, you're going to make your biggest and best offer when you're negotiating before anybody else is there. That means that you're not going to get into the trap of overspending on a property because emotions got ahead of you. You're going to do your own analysis of what the property's worth, what it's going to rent for later on. And then once you have all the information on your whiteboard and you've made a decision on how much profit you're thinking, you can make an offer that is going to be good for you, good for the seller, but not overinflated. So a big mistake a lot of people make is that they try to make a low ball offer. That means that there's no way any sane person would accept your offer, but you figure, look, let's start low and they'll negotiate us up and then we'll negotiate down. And then that doesn't actually work. What happens is they go, right, we're not going to talk to that person. That person's not serious. Let's move on and talk to somebody else. So what I encourage you to do is work out what you can afford, work out what the property is worth, and buy it at a reasonable price rather than trying to lowball offer into it. We're in the information age.
Yes.
Almost everybody. So you're not going to come across somebody that did a whoopsie, that accidentally got and left a zero off the contract. That's just not going to happen. We are really in the information age. So if you're making a lowball offer, you're hoping somebody's desperate and has no other offers. I haven't seen it work myself, but again, this is just my personal experience. You never know.